Hello. Good morning, everyone. Please, can I have your attention? Can I have our attention, please? So I've just been reliably informed that the Honorable Minister is here now and should be walking in any moment from now. Please, just some house rules. Let's try and put our phones on silent and ensure it doesn't ring during the presentation, and minimize walking around, going in and out. At the same time, please, the doors should be locked so that we don't distract the person who is making the presentation. So we'll start any moment from now. Thank you for your patience, and once again, we apologize for starting a bit behind schedule. Thank you.
You said what, that they should come in with her?
Yeah, the people, 4 people, I don't know, coming with.
But they are seated here. No, they can just move up.
I think it looks a bit tight. Everybody comes.
No, because their parastatals are not
Okay,
tied.
allowed.
She's only seated with her palmsec.
Okay. When she
So
comes
she
in,
comes
then
with
she
her
will.
palmsec and her, and then the others can join her.
No problem.
Who are the people asking questions?
No, we don't. We just. So that anyone does, you do I, you understand? Can we close the door, please? No, just close. Just close. Just close. Dead. Yeah. Disability Commission. Nothing.
That's disability. Uche.
Hello. The Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajia Sadiya Umar Farouq. The Special Advisor Media to the President and Chairman of the Presidential Communications Team, Mr. Femi Adesina, who is unavoidably absent, but due to pressing official engagements. But in his stead, will be represented and also chairing today will be Senior Special Assistant to the President of Strategic Communications, Ms. Ogefunlola Modi. All Senior Special Assistants, Personal Assistants to the President, and all members of the Presidential Communications team here present. May I also use this opportunity to recognize the following members of delegation accompanying the Honorable Minister for this briefing today. I'll start with the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Bashir Nura Alkali. Managing Director, Northeast Development Commission, Mohammed Alkali. Director General, National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Ahmed Habib. Honorable Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Imam Suleiman Ibrahim. Director General, National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, Fatima Waziri Azi Ibrahim. Executive Secretary, National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, James David Lalu. Director General, National Senior Citizens Center, Omokaro. National Coordinator, NCIP, Dr. Umar B. Bindi. We also specially acknowledge the presence of all directors of the ministry and team members accompanying the Honorable Minister, and of course, gentlemen of the press, good morning. I humbly welcome everyone here to the 29th session of the State House briefing organized by the Presidential Communications team. You may recall that at our last session that we hosted the Governor of Borno State on this platform, and his presentation was focused on update and security in Borno State and also in the Northeast region. Now, in continuation of our focus on some aspect of national security and also social interventions in Nigeria, the State House briefing for today, Thursday, 17th February 2022, would focus on the socio-economic milestones and report card on the humanitarian efforts being implemented in the Northeast and also other regions of Nigeria by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development under the stewardship of Hajia Sadiya Umar Farouq. This session will be anchored by the Honorable Minister, and she will do justice to this topic as she speaks to her presentation. The Honorable Minister's presentation, which will be shown here, will last for about 20 to 30 minutes, after which we will take questions from the press solely on the focus of our presentation today, and also issues pertaining to the ministry. At this juncture, it is my honor to invite the Honorable Minister to the podium for her presentation. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, members of my delegation, good afternoon. On behalf of my ministry and agencies, I am delighted to welcome you to the 30th session of State House briefing. We at the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development are honored to host this event. Today, I will be providing you with information regarding our progress towards Mr. President's vision to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty through humanitarian efforts being implemented in the Northeast and other parts of the country, and also the efforts towards relocation of internally displaced persons. We'll highlight areas of collaboration between the federal government, state governments, and security agencies in ensuring seamless delivery of humanitarian aid to those in dire need. I will be sharing this via a PowerPoint presentation. We have 50 slides and 2 videos that will provide you with rich information on our activities since creation of the ministry. On slide 2 of the presentation, I'll present you background of the ministry, its vision and mission. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development was established on 21st August 2019 by His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari to coordinate the implementation of all humanitarian affairs, disaster management, and social development activities in the country. Our vision is to create sustainable and inclusive social systems that promote human dignity in Nigeria. And our mission is to coordinate, promote, strengthen social systems that provide support for humanitarian needs in Nigeria by integrating best practices, mechanisms, and solutions through effective utilization of data, research, and planning. On slide 3 of the presentation, we speak about the mandate of the ministry, which is to develop humanitarian policies and provide effective coordination of national and international humanitarian interventions, ensure strategic disaster mitigation preparedness and response, and manage the formulation and implementation of fair, focused social inclusion and protection programs in Nigeria. On slide 4, we talk about the organogram of the ministry, revealing various departments, divisions, and units of the ministry as approved by the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation. The ministry has 9 departments, 5 units, working synergistically to achieve its mandate. On slide 5, we have the agencies and programs. We have 6 agencies and programs under the ministry, and it implements its policies, programs, and projects through these agencies and offices under its supervision. We have the National Emergency Management Agency, the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons. We have the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, the Northeast Development Commission, the National Commission for Persons Living with Disabilities, and the National Senior Citizen Center. Whilst the programs are the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals and the National Social Investment Program. On slide 6, I would like to speak on the roadmap. To actualize the mandate of the ministry developed and launched a strategic roadmap on 14th of February 2022, which lays out its initiatives, action plans, and strategies that ensure its mandate aligns with the focused areas of the federal government in the discharge of its obligations to the Nigerian people, which is encapsulated in Mr. President's vision of lifting a significant variable number of poor Nigerians out of poverty within a time frame. The roadmap also aligns with the priority areas of the federal government captured in the National Development Plan. I would like to therefore begin by projecting the video to you. On the roadmap.
Strategic pillars that will greatly position the ministry for the developmental task ahead and beyond. These pillars are designed to support the ministry and its vision in conceptualizing and driving all her activity. On the first pillar, priority will be given to the need to strengthen policies and institutional frameworks, which is crucial to the harmonization of all activities that will efficiently position the institution toward effective service delivery. This will be done by collating and reviewing all relevant policies, identifying and updating policy gaps, intensifying the awareness of the ministry's mandate in ongoing policy formulations, integration and implementation, facilitate continuous engagement with all stakeholders, and develop a stakeholders' feedback and evaluation system through the integration and harmonization of existing and new policy frameworks. With strengthened policies and institutional frameworks on Pillar 1, the Ministry shall build evidence-based systems on the second pillar. This will underscore our commitment to transparency and accountability. We shall leverage on technology in order to ensure optimum value addition and long-lasting impact of humanitarian activities through the proper coordination of all projects across all agencies, promoting the awareness and sensitization of all stakeholders, the development of an integrated management information system that will manage operational gaps across agencies and programs. The institutionalization of automated processes and procedures will also facilitate real-time monitoring while ascertaining frequent performance reporting. Drawing from the above, the attention of the third pillar will be on programs delivery through evaluation of the ministry and its agencies. The existing monitoring network will expand and institute its key performance indicators as well as its driving mechanisms to enable real-time monitoring of programs and projects even in the most remote areas of the country. This will be done by leveraging technology and ensuring a robust management information system is integrated to further strengthen positive impact in vulnerable communities. Pillar 4 focuses on the need to optimize funding and resourcing opportunities in order to support the ministry's mandate and ensure accountable use of resources for poverty reduction and increased socioeconomic development. As funding remains a challenge, alternative sources of funding will be explored with a view to aligning priority areas of government vis-a-vis the growing investments in the emerging private sector to meet the needs of poor and vulnerable Nigerians.
I'm so happy because I'll go buy food for my children, keep the remaining one to do a little business I'm doing.
Very grateful. The end game for this is to build a thriving and sustainable economy, enhance social inclusion, and reduce poverty. Achieving the above will require the support of the fifth pillar, which introduces the importance of strategic partnerships, collaborations, and disability inclusion. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, and Social Development will create an enabling environment for strategic partners to come on board to be a part of her many good outreaches. The systematic integration of persons with disability into the society will also be of utmost importance. The Ministry will ensure proper engagement of stakeholders and identify emerging partnership opportunities amongst and between institutions with similar mandates of catering for the vulnerable. The penultimate pillar is intended to serve the purposes and intent of every other pillar, which is to promote effective governance through the implementation of a robust coordination system that will enhance high-level strategic communication between stakeholders and key players. This endeared the development and approval for the ministry to lead a socially inclusive futures-thinking ecosystem, LIFE, aimed at implementing a holistic humanitarian coordination system for improved strategic communication and governance to ensure effective outputs and outcomes within the ministry and across its agencies and beyond. There is no gainsaying the importance of a seamless framework to the efficiency of a nascent ministry striving to measure up to global best practices on coordination. The LIFE coordination framework will adequately help in the reduction of poverty and fostering of social inclusion by its dynamic and coordinated approach, enhancing collaboration within and outside the ministry while connecting with various stakeholders. It will also help in developing and evaluating key initiatives that will be measured against key performance indicators and also systematically create a feedback channel for all stakeholders to make their reviews and evaluation. Pillar 7, which is the last but not the least pillar, gives utmost importance to the mainstreaming of the Sustainable Development Goals and integration of social initiatives and investment programs. Suffice it to say that the impact and effects of this pillar has ostensibly benefited millions of Nigerians, especially the vulnerable, in the very spot the shoes pinches them. The highlights of the ministry on this 7th pillar cannot be overemphasized. The ministry, through collaborative efforts with other stakeholders, ministries, departments and agencies, have risen to the occasion of lifting millions out of poverty by either coordinating humanitarian projects that predates the ministry or initiating new ones to cover extant demands. Noteworthy among these initiatives are the well-designed National Social Investment Programs, NSIPs. The President Muhammadu Buhari's altruistic government has greatly alleviated the sufferings of the vulnerable through the instrumentality of these NSIPs that was graciously executed through the Office of the Amiable Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, before being brought under the supervision of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. These laudable national social investment programs include the Empower program that has without fail provided a notable source of income to so many needy Nigerians on a monthly basis.
It has been my dream to learn animation, but I thank God that I am being deployed into the Department of Animation, and with that knowledge, I think I can be able to become an entrepreneur in the nearest future.
The Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, GEEP, that has effectively given collateral-free and non-interest-free loans to SMEs and MSMEs in their barely thriving states. The National Homegrown School Feeding Programs, an initiative through which ministries promoting education, boosting agriculture, and enhancing social development. Last but not the least, amongst the National Social Investment Programs is the Conditional Cash Transfer Program, through which the government has directly blocked any third-party loophole to directly support the poor and vulnerable with needed cash to sustain them. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development will need every stakeholder and key player to be part of this noble cause aimed at greatly alleviating poverty. The times are difficult and the demands are daunting. Therefore, the ministry expects all stakeholders and key players to have all hands on deck in making the lifting of at least 100 million Nigerians from the poverty line by 2030 a practical reality. We are also poised and ready to roll out new initiatives, some of which are the Grant for Rural Women, the recent alternate school program for out-of-school children, with many more to follow.
And will continue to do my best in ensuring the fulfillment of the mandate of the ministry in keeping with the vision of this administration.
Summarily, The rationale behind these is to further cater for the needs of more poor and vulnerable Nigerians. The stakes are high, the mandate is clear. Therefore, we call on all stakeholders, ministries, departments, and agencies to rise up to the demands of the times for the love of God and humanity, because service to humanity is nothing less than service to God, and that is why we are gathered here today.
Thank you, Mr. President, for giving us the food. Thank you, federal government.
The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, and Social Development, mapping out a life of dignity for all.
Thank you very much. That's the end of the video. And on slide 7, I will present the humanitarian situation in Nigeria, starting with a photograph of His Excellency Mr. President on a visit to Borno State in February 2020. And this was after the devastating Auno attack by the insurgents. Let me say that Mr. President is committed to addressing the issue of insecurity and providing support to the affected citizens. And he continues to give us the necessary backing to do all that is needed to support IDPs and other vulnerable groups across the country. Slide 8 speaks to the synopsis of the humanitarian situation in the country. As we all know, natural disasters and man-made crises across the country are adversely impacting the lives and livelihood of Nigerians. And the effect renders millions vulnerable and deprived of basic human needs, causing dire humanitarian crisis. It is estimated that about 7.1 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance in the Northeast region, with a total of about 8.1 million who are internally displaced, with new displacement occurring due to insecurity situations in other parts of the country. Climate change is also a factor that contributes to the humanitarian situation, worsening flood and drought that depletes arable land resources, among others. And these disasters result in humanitarian crises which vary widely in nature and setting. They include conflict, terrorism, floods, epidemics, etc. And such crises cause large displacement of people and expose them to depraved conditions. There are also issues of communal clashes. The armed conflict and boundary attacks create refugee crises, environmental crises, healthcare emergencies, population displacement, hunger and malnutrition, lack of basic services, amongst others. The affected population experience one or more of the following adverse consequences: violence, displacement, food scarcity, increased exposure to communicable diseases, as well as other health-related issues. On slide 10, we speak on the insurgency in the Northeast. While the Boko Haram insurgency is ravaging the Northeast, banditry and criminal activities of cattle rustlers are devastating the Northwest. Incessant farmer-herder conflict in the North Central, kidnappings, ritual killings, separatist agitations are some of the issues faced in the southern region of Nigeria. Displaced Nigerians are scattered in different parts of the country as internally displaced persons, and in neighboring countries of Cameroon, Niger, Chad as refugees. Slide 11 speaks on addressing these situations. And in addressing this situation, we have outlined and effectively respond to these issues. The ministry has and is developing policies and plans that positively impacts the victims of this crisis and alleviate their condition in line with the vision and commitment of President Muhammad Buhari's administration. To date, the ministry has formulated 5 national policies, while 2 are ongoing. And these policies are the National Policy on Aging, National Migration Policy, National Disability Policy, National Policy on Internally Displaced Persons, National Disaster Risk Management Policy. And the ongoing policies are the National Social Protection Policy and the Cash and Voucher Assistance Policy. Slide 12 speaks on the Internally Displaced Persons and policy. This ministry formulated a national policy as an instrument that guides stakeholders on managing the affairs of affected persons. It also guarantees that displaced persons are given the best care in a dignified manner, as they are amongst the most vulnerable population in Nigeria. In the absence of such policy framework, you will agree with me that the response to the plight of IDPs remained largely fragmented and uncoordinated. Hence, the ministry took urgent steps to develop the national IDP policy. The national policy was approved by the Federal Executive Council in 2021, and it incorporates the provision of the Kampala Convention on IDPs in Africa. The ministry is in the process of domesticating the Kampala Convention through a standalone legislation in the National Assembly. And slide 13 speaks on how the international humanitarian community and donors are working with the ministry. We have worked together to support the development of a cash and voucher assistance. This was in line with the 2016 agreement to increase the use and coordination of such cash-based programming in humanitarian responses, to expand the modality for the delivery of humanitarian assistance, especially to our internally displaced persons. The policy is in line with the humanitarian community's desire to use the cash and voucher assistance in response to the humanitarian situation in the Northeast. On slide 14, we speak about the insurgency in the Northeast, which has given a rise to increasing need for humanitarian assistance in the country, and that drew the attention of both local and international humanitarian actors, including the United Nations and bilateral donor agencies to Nigeria. However, the internationally led humanitarian action in Nigeria posed a challenge, as experience from other disaster-affected countries has shown that a situation where donors and international non-governmental organizations are the drivers of emergency and humanitarian response in a country portends danger and a future for uncertainty. Rather, ownership of humanitarian action by national and local actors, especially the government, local government taking the lead, supported by other local actors, is the way to a quicker, effective, result-driven, and sustainable response to humanitarian crisis. This births the localization framework, which we're going to speak on slide 15. And this localization framework will ensure locally led humanitarian interventions in Nigeria, significantly shape the response of all stakeholders, especially in forging the partnerships that are most conducive to localization. And it was also developed as a result of lessons learned by all stakeholders involved in the humanitarian action in Nigeria in the last 3 to 4 years. And in summary, engagement of local NGOs in the delivery of humanitarian assistance will ensure access in hard-to-reach areas, as well as reduce associated fear by the United Nations agencies and other international organizations. The ministry has undertaken various initiatives, ladies and gentlemen. We have undertaken activities and programs to address the deplorable living condition of the poor and vulnerable. And this include, but not limited to the following: the mass housing project as part of the 10,000 housing units which the federal government is funding for the Northeast, Borno specifically, to resettle IDPs. The Northeast Development Commission has constructed and handed over 1,000 of these housing units to Borno State government, while the remaining 9,000 housing units are being constructed by the state government, but being funded by the federal government. NEDC is also building 500 units for each of the other 5 northeastern states. And on slide 17, the Northeast Stabilization and Development Master Plan, which is ongoing plan with focuses on both alleviating poverty and promoting prosperity using transformative projects and programs which will reshape the destiny of the Northeast region, which has been ravaged by the Boko Haram insurgents. The ministry also undertook several intervention programs with distribution of food and non-food items to the poor and vulnerable across the country. On slide 18, we're going to touch on the molecular laboratories that were built in the 6 states of the Northeast region, the settlement city for IDPs, which is building 100 houses that are being completed and handed over to the Borno State government, while 200 housing units are completed and modalities are being put in place to hand over these houses to the IDPs. The National Senior Citizen Center developed also a 10-year strategic plan for the center. You may recall that the center is very new. It has just been created late last year. The National Senior Citizen Center has conducted medical outreaches to elderly people within the FCT and also hosted private sector roundtable to mobilize investments and resources. There's also the construction of 300 housing units, each in Katsina, Daura, Nasarawa, Kefi, Zamfara, which is ongoing, that's being done by the National Commission for Refugees and Migrants. The Commission has also trained 200 persons of concern on ICT in collaboration with NIDA, and these beneficiaries were selected from FCT, Nasarawa, and Kaduna State. The National Commission for Persons with Disabilities collected data from 50,000 PWDs for the COVID-19 cash transfer, which is captured by the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office. And in collaboration with NAPTIV, the NCFRM and International Office for Migration had a routine repatriation of stranded Nigerians from Libya and other countries. The agency has also developed a national action plan on human trafficking in Nigeria 2022 to 2026. This is also done in collaboration with our partners, Swiss government and UN agency, UNODC as well. Then the rescue and rehabilitation of 17,242 victims to date of trafficked persons and empowering a good number of them with formal education programs and vocational trades for meaningful living. There are many more activities, ladies and gentlemen. However, this provides a general overview across the agencies under the ministry. The picture on slide 21 highlights the 1,000 housing units project handed over to Borno State government, which I mentioned earlier. While on slide 22, the picture shows some of our engagements with IDPs, including relief distribution, data verification, and interventions targeting women and female heads of households performed by the Refugee Commission. Slide 23 shows the picture of the repatriation exercise for victims of trafficking from Libya, which was carried out through a collaboration between NAPTIV, NEMA, and the IOM. The next is the pictures which present community outreaches and social intervention programs carried out by the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. They also include the distribution of mobility equipment and skills acquisition. On slide 25 are pictures of the distribution of food items that was being carried out by NEMA to provide support for victims of various hazards and disasters such as flooding, market fires, building collapse, and so on across the country. Since the beginning of the insurgency in the Northeast, many actors, humanitarian responders, military authorities in the theater of operation, and the civilian population are in disagreement in the modes of operation. And in an effort to manage these actors and parties, the ministry organized an international workshop on civil security cooperation, CSEC, in 2019. And the workshop discussed issues of conflict sensitivity, civil-military relations, and civil security relationship. The communique from the workshop resulted in the establishment of the National Humanitarian Coordination Committee, which was inaugurated by His Excellency Mr. President in 2020. And this committee is being chaired by my humble self and co-chaired by the National Security Advisor. And its membership includes all service chiefs, IGP, relevant ministers, the based state governors, DGDSS, UN agencies, INGOs, and NGOs, amongst others. The committee also has its technical arm, which is the National Humanitarian Coordination Technical Working Group, and it is charged with the responsibility of developing the policy guide towards addressing humanitarian challenges in the country. The committee is drawing up guidelines for operations for aid delivery and humanitarian response in the theater of operations. Its membership draws from humanitarian actors working in the field as well as based state governments, same as State Ministry of RRR, UN agencies like OCHA, IOM, World Food Program, etc. In pursuit of implementing the standard framework for disaster risk reduction 2015 to 2030, the ministry is working with stakeholders to raise awareness and build national capacity in the 4 priority areas of the framework. The ministry has reviewed the National Disaster Risk Management Policy in an attempt to fully consider the new approach of disaster risk reduction, build upon existing policies, as well as domesticate targeted actions set in line with the provisions of the Sendai framework. On slide 29, we present to you the ministry's coordinating framework, which is coordinating the national midterm review of the Sendai framework in line with the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, member states' obligations. Activities of the review commences in February, and it will be presented at the 7th session of the Global Platform for Disaster Reduction, GP 2022 at Bali. On slide 30, we have additional details on additional disaster response that has been undertaken by the ministry. And these pictures also were taken in 2029 on slide 31 during a field visit to a commercial hub in the southeast Anambra State affected by the fire incident. In slide 32, we'll speak on the floods. And in flood management, the ministry continues to work with its agencies and departments to ensure strategic disaster mitigation. Mr. President directed the ministry to work with all relevant stakeholders to develop a national flood emergency preparedness and response plan for Nigeria. And this plan sets all conditions to mitigate the consequences of flood, prepare its occurrence, respond to it when it happens, and recover from it after it happens. On slide 33, we speak about the plan which seeks to provide strategic guidance in a systematic and sequential manner for managing flood anywhere in Nigeria in a coordinated way, as well as getting stakeholders' commitment and participation. This plan is expected to go to Federal Executive Council for approval in the next few weeks. On slide 34, we speak on what the agencies and offices have undertaken, that is the various activities and programs to address the impact of floods. And these are the annual sensitization and awareness on flood risk consciousness in all the states of the Federation and the Federal Capital, provision of search and rescue and relief assistance to most vulnerable population, constitution of National Technical Working Group on flood preparedness, strengthening the capacity of NEMA field officers for emergency response, and emergency agricultural intervention program, which provides progress reports to the National Food Security Council being chaired by His Excellency, Mr. President. And these pictures on slide 35 speaks on NEMA's search and rescue operations during floods and following a building collapse. Slides 36 to 45 shows our activities on social intervention through the National Social Investment Programs. As you may be aware, the NCIP comprises of 4 flagship initiatives which are implemented by the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. And these initiatives are the Job Creation Unit, popularly known as the Empower, the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, and the Conditional Cash Transfer Program. On the job creation Empower, the federal government through this program has empowered over 1 million youths from 2016 to date. And this comprises of graduates and non-graduates, especially vulnerable youth. And these programs provide life skills that empower various categories of these beneficiaries with life-sustaining skills. The graduate program has the N-Health, the N-Agro, and the N-Teach components. The non-graduate program includes training in N-Tech for software and hardware development, N-Creative, and N-Build. And this slide, which is slide 38, reveals details of the job creation. On batch A of the program, the Empower program, we had 200,000 beneficiaries for the graduate program, while for the non-graduate program, we have 16,305 beneficiaries. For the batch B, the graduate program was 300,000 beneficiaries, and the non-graduate program touched 1,542 beneficiaries. Batch C, we have 450,000 beneficiaries for graduates and 60,000 for the non-graduates. So you can see the numbers are increasing with time. It is important to draw the public's attention to the fact that His Excellency Mr. President has graciously approved the expansion of the NCIP program and the Empower by Sea from 500,000 to 1 million Nigerian youths, to which enrollment has been concluded and are awaiting onboarding and assignment to their places of primary assignment. That is the batch C2. In the batch C, we have 2 components, batch C1 and batch C2. The batch C1 have already been onboarded and they have been assigned their responsibilities, while the C2 is in the process of being assigned to their places of assignment. As part of the strategy to reach the most vulnerable in the society, the ministry continues to give 5,000 naira to very poor and vulnerable citizens across the country. And the cash transfer beneficiaries are derived from the National Social Register, which captures the poor and vulnerable citizens across the country. As at the end of January 2022, the National Social Register has captured over 46 million individuals. The next slide shows additional details on the National Social Register, the number of states, 36 states, and the FCT, local government areas, 750, communities, 109,648 communities. Persons living with disability that have been captured are 818, 107, and currently 1,632,480 households are benefiting from the conditional cash transfer program. There's also the grant for rural women, which gives 20,000 naira one-off grant to our rural women. and this we have captured about 320,000 of them. And through the economic sustainability plan that's been anchored by His Excellency the Vice President, the ministry designed the Rapid Response Register using satellite imagery and big data to target urban communities and enumerate the poor and vulnerable in those localities. The use of this cutting-edge technology for targeting the poor is the first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa and Nigeria's first shock response social protection framework, which can be activated quickly in times of crisis in order to reach the affected population with help. The RRR currently holds information of 5 million urban poor and vulnerable Nigerians across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. And the ministry under the Economic Sustainability Plan designed the COVID-19 cash transfer to reach 1 million people with 5,000 naira per beneficiary per month for a period of 6 months. The National Homegrown School Feeding Program is currently implemented in 36 states and the FCT. Bayelsa State is finalizing all necessary arrangements to come on board on the program. And in that program, we have 54,796 public primary schools that are on the program. It covers about 8 million people who are fed by over 100,000 cooks. This slide shows pictures from the National Homegrown School Feeding Program. And through the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, we also continue to reach several micro and small businesses with interest-free loans. Under JIP 1, about 2.4 million citizens have benefited, while under JIP 2, so far we have registered 1.2 million applicants. We are working on their enumeration and eventual disbursement of the loan. On slide 46, we present to you MDAs which the ministry is working with, and they include the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Ministry of Women Affairs, Youth and Sports, National Bureau of Statistics, Communications and Digital Economy, and many others. The next slides present the national and international partners which the ministry is working with, including UN OCHA, World Food Programs, several embassies, and the Red Cross. And through these partnerships, the ministry is able to reach more citizens in need of humanitarian assistance. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, this is a brief insight to some of our numerous programs and activities since the creation of the ministry by His Excellency, President Muhammad Buhari, in August 2019. I must stress here that this is a ministry that was created specifically for the citizens, the poor and vulnerable citizens of this country, who are the people that brought this government in power. These are the people that are in the heart of His Excellency, Mr. President, hence the creation of this ministry to cater for their needs. I invite you to continue to follow our activities and programs, which are now aired weekly in a number of local and international media houses. Finally, I present to you a video that highlights some of our key programs. This will help give you additional insight on the work that we do. This video on the impact of the CCT in Jigawa State. And after which I would like to say, I thank you so much for listening, and I will be very happy to take questions after this video presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Far northwestern state of Jigawa, where the beneficiaries of Conditional Cash Transfer (CCT) bought a vehicle to evacuate the women in labor to hospital for delivery. Before this effort, this rural community relied heavily on wheelbarrows to convey the wounded mothers to hospital, passing through rough and untouched road. This is the sigh of relief for pregnant women in this community. It saves them from prolonged labor before reaching the hospital that may result to obstetric vaginal fistula.
Salamu alaikum. A lokacin da tallafin nan ya zo, sai muka ga to shi a garin dai babu illa abin da zamu tunkara illa mu mata mu ceto ran ƴaƴanmu tunda mu mun daina aiwa. Tukunna kuma sai muka kira maza muka ba su wannan shawarwarin. Sai suka ga wannan abu ai ya dace ai. To shine muka zauna aka ce idan wata ya dawo na wannan tallafi me muke ganin zamu hada. Sai aka ce to a fara yin 1000. To mu ainihin mu shugabannin nan da muke 21 sai aka ce to kowace shugaba ta tsaya ta jajirce kowace mace ta karbi wannan tallafi a karbi 1000 hannunta. To kowace mace Allah da ikonsa ba mu samu akasari a gun mazan sun ba mu rashin goyon baya ba. To Allah da ikonsa muka zauna kowace shugaba ta kawo wannan kuɗi muka tace wannan kuɗi naira 420 sai wannan wata ya daɗa kamawa. Shi ma aka ce abin da ya da aka yi a wancan ɗin hakan za a sake shine kuɗi ya zama naira 840. Muna da wata kafafiyar kungiya wacce yake suna nan jajirtattu ne a Wambai. To sai aka meka magana wajen su kuɗi aka samu suka aiko aka cika kuɗi miliyan 1. Aka je aka siyo mota a ran nan ba a kwana ba. Allah da ikonsa wannan mota da ka ganta sai ga gaban magarba an shigo da ita. Gaba ɗaya mata ta ko ina sai da muka cika kofar fadan nan kowa buɗa yake.
The community leaders appreciate the efforts of the CCT beneficiaries who collect 5,000 naira monthly stipend for their contribution, rescuing women in labor and fighting the maternal mortality.
Lokacin da suka zo da wannan magana cewar za su tara kuɗi su sai motar haihuwa lafiya, na yi farin ciki kwarai da gaske na ce to ai wannan kun yi abin da ya kamata.
Ai ban taɓa samun canjin rayuwa irin wannan karan ba. Yasa kaga duk abubuwan da muke yi a yanzu duka ba irin da bane mu kanmu yawan aka ce ga tallafin ya shigo gobe an ce sarki ya hau ya faɗa akan tarho buɗa da zaka ji a nan garin ana yin ta yadda ka san an dauki amarya an dora ta akan doki.
This shows how impactfully the conditional cash transfer program the poor and vulnerable help in the community through the savings from the 5,000 naira monthly stipend. Thanks to President Muhammad Buhari for this initiative being executed under the amiable Minister Sadiya Umar Farouq of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that presentation. Very detailed and humane indeed. Now we'll go straight to the questions. We'll take it in 2 batches. First 4 and then the second 4. So the floor is open. Anthony, Gloria, Dr. Leon, and Liberty for the first set. Okay. Okay, yes, for the first set. Second set, we'll take another 4.
Thank you. My name is Tony Aileme. I report for Business Day. Honorable Minister, I just want to focus on one particular area from all the things you said during your presentation, and that has to do with the end power. If I hear you clearly, you talked about the exit program being approved by Mr. President, or thereabout. Please, if it's not correct, please correct me. I'm interested in that exit program because one of the issues that have been raised in my office each time I write this story is that I get confronted with the issue of, have you seen somebody who has benefited from the end power? Have you seen the post-end power activities that those people engage in? I give you an example. I have a teacher, somebody who participated in teaching. Yes, sorry, I was wrong. Today, he's worse off than when he participated. What are you doing about the exit program? to ensure that those who participate in this program are empowered and ensure that there is a continuity. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Gloria Omezuke from Channels TV. I just want to ask real quick, how many Nigerians have been lifted out of poverty so far? We've had several figures. I know the ultimate goal is lifting 100 million out of poverty. How many do we have right now? And the school feeding program, is it actually reducing the number of children in school? Because we hear various figures, 10 point something, we hear 13 point something. We don't even know the actual figure. Is that program working to actually induce children into schools? And has the figure of out of school children dropped? Thank you.
Good morning, the Honorable Minister. My name is Dr. Leon Usigbe, the Nigerian Tribune. Madam, the President applied for environment of about 276.7 billion naira from the capital component of the NSIP in 2021 Appropriation Act. And this one came or is coming at a time that you are struggling, your ministry is struggling with a lot of programs, especially the talking about outstanding of the Empower beneficiary. How will this environment affect you, affect your operation? Thank you.
Liberty. Go ahead. Speak up.
My name is Hassan Umar Farouq. I report for Liberty Radio and Television. Minister, I want to get an update on the OOSC census, out of school children census that the ministry intend to do. And how did you intend to feed those children that are not in the school when there are certain complaints on those that are in the school? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Let me start with Anthony on the Empower. Thank you for bringing that up. It's not in my presentation really, but you asked another question, if has anybody really benefited from the Empower program? Yes, of course. The 500,000 that have been on the program, the batch A and batch B, 500,000, they benefited on that program for a period of 4 years and 2 years. The batch A was on the program for about 4 years, and we're giving them 30,000 naira stipends monthly. And the batch B, they benefited for 2 years. So yes, the Empower beneficiaries have benefited because these are people who were not employed, who had nothing to do, but they were engaged and they were being paid stipends that they will use to earn a decent living. On the exit program, yes, we have an exit strategy, which we partnered with the Central Bank of Nigeria. And out of this 500,000, about 300,000 indicated interest to be put on an exit program where they can be trained different skills of their choice, and they will be given loans by the Central Bank of Nigeria for them to start their businesses. This we have gone far. We are in the process of training those that have indicated interest, and I'm sure before the end of this quarter, these people will be given these loans by the CBN. As a government agency, a ministry, we do not give loans, so we have to partner with those institutions that can do that. Unfortunately, some of these people were not very wise in their savings, but for anybody that is really serious, those of them have saved about 100,000, 109,000 of the Empower beneficiaries have become entrepreneurs. They are now employers of laborers, and we have evidence of that which can be provided to you. This is a very laudable program, and people have benefited, and people are being supported, and we have an exit strategy, and we are on it, and it's a continuous process. And the other issue raised by Gloria, you said how many have been lifted out of poverty. I just mentioned in my presentation, for us in our ministry, the 100 million Nigerians that are going to be lifted out of poverty, according to Mr. President's vision, is it cuts across all MDA's efforts. And for us in our ministry, as being the lead ministry in alleviating poverty, the conditional cash transfer that we give 5,000 naira to poor and vulnerable in communities goes a long way in lifting them out of the status they were in before. You can see people have even saved, you know, to provide a vehicle that will support them in child delivery. So this, I can say, we are supporting 1.6 million individuals. And these individuals, if you multiply the average number of a household, which is 5 to 6, you're supporting about 15 million or thereabout, more than 15 million individuals. So these people are being supported. And even in the Empower program that we are supporting now, 1 million of them, yes, that can also be added as a number of people that have been lifted out of poverty. And then other programs, the JIP program, even the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, is a program that is all-encompassing. It helps in the economic value chain of a community where you feed these children and you use the rural women or the women from that community to cook this food. You support these women by paying them some kind of money that they will do the cooking. And then even the local farmers that grow the food. So these are people also that have been impacted, and it runs into millions when you do the calculation. So yes, we have lifted millions out of poverty using our programs. I've just said the 1.6 for the conditional cash transfer. You are supporting over 100,000 women cooks. You are supporting 2.1 million trader money and market money and farmer money beneficiaries. We are supporting the Empower, which is 1 million, both the graduates and non-graduates. So if you do the calculation, I will ask one of my staff, maybe the national coordinator of the National Social Investment, to give you the exact figures, Gloria. Thank you. Then on the Homegrown School Feeding Program, we wanted to also know whether it has increased the number of pupils or it decreased. Of course, it has increased the number. We started with just about 5 million or thereabout when the program started. Now we are talking about 9.8 million, close to 10 million pupils that are being fed every day through this program. And surely it shows that people's intake have been increased in schools. So it's an increase, not a decrease, really. And then the other question. The out-of-school people, the out-of-school children, I will ask my coordinator to give us the exact figures so that you don't quote me wrong, but there are over 10 million of them. But I'll ask him to speak to that when I finish, please, Dr. Bindo, to speak to that. Then on the question, is that all, Gloria, or is that another one? Well, you see, we can say there's a reduction because people it has supported parents to take their children to school because of this school feeding program. But the exact number is what we are going to work on, and I will give it to you. Normally, it should decrease because of this program. The numbers were less before, and now we have seen the increase from 5 million to over 9 million. So of course, there's an increase in that regards. But that does not mean that we do not have out-of-school children as well, which we are also tackling with our alternate school program that's coming on board. Then the question by Dr. Leon of Tribune, the environment is 276 that was fired. Unfortunately, you know, our own programs are programs that really goes through very, very rigorous processes before you finally get to the point that you start disbursement. And I think this environment was done in good faith because the Minister of Finance requested and the President approved. But same provision has been made under the National Poverty Reduction Program in the 2022 budget. So we have not lost that money. We still have another provision now that we have finished with the processes, and we will utilize the funds through that committee. Then Hassan from Nutrition FM, you asked on how do we intend to feed the out-of-school children. Well, this program, we call it the alternate school program. We have used all other means before on how to address this issue of out-of-school children. This has been done by numerous programs under the Ministry of Education and other institutions. Now we came together and decided that what is it that we need to do to see how these out-of-school children can be educated. At least they will have the basic education. And we came up with the out-of-school, alternate school program. This program, we're going to take the schools, the teaching or the learning to the places where these children are, be it in the Sangaya setting or in workshops where children are being used, or as in the shops where we have this kind of children. We're going to support them with the basic literacy, numericals, mathematics, English, social science. I think we're to teach them four different subjects. And so since these people will know where we're going to reach them, we have gone far. We have started identifying the spots across the zones. We will use our homegrown school feeding program to feed them in that community where they are. So we have really worked on that, and we hope that we are optimistic that we will get there. Thank you very much.
Okay, just before we take the next set of questions, as you may recall, this program is being streamed live on YouTube, and we have a question from YouTube, and I think the Honorable Minister has provided clarification for that. I think it's on the status of the Empower exited students. Oh, sorry, Empower and exit, that's what they called it. But the clarification has been made. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. If there's any other question online, I think we'll also take that question so that the Honorable Minister can take it. We'll give an opportunity for the National Coordinator NCIP to clarify on other figures based on the questions that have been asked for the second batch. After that, we'll take the second batch of questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Umar Binder. I'm the National Coordinator of the National Social Investment Program. In addition to the brilliant presentation and the answers provided by the Honorable Minister, just over 1 minute, some few clarifications. And I think the business there when he said people are worse off before joining Empower. The idea of Empower is not to make people worse off after. That's not the idea. The idea is to pick you up from a level, empower you with skills, competencies so that you can be able to apply your God-given intellectual and creative energy. If you are a graduate, you are given opportunity to teach in addition to a lot of information given to you. You are given an opportunity to work in a healthcare facility supporting, they call them volunteers anyway, in addition to a lot of information given to you to survive. You are given opportunity to work on farms through the agriculture development programs as extension officers, again with a lot of information for you to pick the pieces. While you do this, every month you have an allowance of 30,000. What we have realized is that there is a need for huge reorientation. Some people actually believe that after they have been attached for a year or 2 years, they will be given a job in the civil service. Some people think they will be given credit instantly after that. So there's a lot of feeling out of the young people that are being attached under Empower. But based on that realization, the ministry has expanded its partnership with the National Orientation Agency, with the NYSC, with the Ministry of Information, to ensure that we build up this orientation to make sure that if you are a chap, you are a graduate, you had nothing before, you have a certificate, now you have 30,000 every month. Will you be able to now remember that in a year, if I were to be saving 5,000, this is what I'm going to get, and then I'll get on with my life in trying to access the other bits and pieces. But it will be the whole day if you want to go through this, but there are a number of exit programs that the graduates or non-graduates can actually enter through. The second, Gloria, I think, wanted numbers. It's like asking the Minister of Works, how many potholes have you actually covered on a road? You do your best repairing the road, passengers are using the road, and then you just see the flow. The number of people in terms of being in poverty or lifted out of poverty is a function of the effectiveness of National Bureau of Statistics. In fact, at the beginning, for example, out-of-school children, the United Nations system reported that there were 13-point-something million out-of-school children, declaring this country as the capital of out-of-school children. But the administration said, look, we have an institution, let us know. As we speak, the National Bureau of Statistics is working on it to ensure that we too have our figures. But what we are doing in the Ministry of the Humanitarian Affairs Disaster Management is to look at this as a disaster issue, as a humanitarian issue, and then do something about it. And I'll come to that very, very briefly. The program we have in the ministry is not literally out-of-school children program. It is realizing that this out-of-school children is a problem. First is to make people understand that this is a national issue. Some people here, if you say out-of-school children, they think you are talking about the Almajiris in the north. Some people think it's actually religiously, it's just Muslim children. But I can tell you from the beginning of this program, we've established it's a national issue. We sent a team to Lagos. They went to, what's the name of the place again? Makoko. They met 7,000 out-of-school children, picking things from the dirt. The guy came shaking like that. We sent another chap to Jos. He came shaking also. We sent another guy to Enugu. And that was for the first time, everybody realizing that out-of-school children is a national problem. And in fact, what the president said was, we have always concentrated on taking children back to school. So you have to pull them together, take them to school. There will be classrooms, teachers, books, uniforms, shoes. He said, well, we have not been doing very well. The numbers are not saying good about us. What can we do as Nigerians innovatively to take the education to the children? And that is what brought up the alternate school program. And therefore, we'll discuss with the channels and Liberty people in detail to tell you exactly how, but we're excited that this is beginning to work. There are Nigerians who have invented the talking pen. You press it on A, you get A, B, C. That can work. There are Nigerians that have invented digital devices that can help the children to have access to education. And as the minister said, yeah. So thank you very much.
We'll take the last batch of questions. I'll start with Juliana, John Bosco. Okay, you. 3, and Timothy. 4 persons and we're done. Juliana, John Bosco, Fifen, and then Timothy. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Minister. My name is Juliana Taiwo, Obaloye of the Sun newspapers. I'd like to know how effective is the strategy of relocating IDPs to their ancestral homes in managing humanitarian crisis, and what is the number of IDPs relocated so far?
Yeah, Honorable Minister, my name is John Bosco Abakuru. I write for Vanguard. National Homegrown School Feeding Program. Madam Minister, I want to find out whether federal government schools are included. And if they are included, is there any mechanism to monitor the implementation?
Can you hear me? Okay. Juliana, you wanted to know how effective is the strategy of taking the IDPs to their original communities. Well, let me state here that for an IDP to be relocated back to his community, that community has to be safe for return. They have to be returned in safety and dignity. So that is the principle, that is our guiding principle. And this we are doing in collaboration with Borno State government. Borno State government has started relocating these IDPs. As I mentioned in my presentation, we have built houses, 1,000 of them, through the NEDC, and we have handed over to Borno State government. No IDP will be returned to a community that is not safe for return. That is the first strategy. And I'm sure that is being followed. But some of these attacks, you know, they can be spontaneous attacks. Even when an area is declared safe for return, you might have issues here and then, but the security agencies are on top of it to ensure that this is. So that is what I can say on this. The principle is to return safety and in dignity. In dignity, you have to provide all the basic amenities for these people when they return. You support them, you empower them, and that is being done through the ministry in partnership with Borno State government. The other issue by Vanguard, I didn't really get your name. If the schools being fed are federal government schools, no, they are not federal government schools. They are state schools, state public primary schools. So the federal government is supporting the state, is out of the federal government's graciousness that we are supporting these people's public primary school pupils in the states. And we feed primary 1 to 3. So it's not federal government schools, unfortunately. I don't know why the cooks are looking fatter than the children. At least I'm glad that I'm not fat, so I will not be accused of, you know, eating the school food. So that is it for that. And then if our interventions to the north is just for the northeast and northwest, that is not true. Our ministry is for the whole country. The only agency under the ministry that is focused on the Northeast is the Northeast Development Commission, just like the Niger Delta Commission. So we take interventions to all parts of the country where our intervention is needed. The state you cited, Benue State. Benue State cannot say that the federal government does not support them or does not take intervention to them. I remember very well, even while I was in the Refugees Commission, I've had cause to visit Benue State on several occasions, taking interventions to the IDPs in Benue State. In fact, in one of such visits, we went together with His Excellency the Vice President. And even currently, the agencies, Refugees Commission, NEMA, they all take interventions to this state. But you see, feeding people, just to feed people, it's not something that is sustainable. You cannot continue to feed. And that is why we are focusing now on the durable aspects of our, durable solution aspects of our interventions to see how we can support people to earn a living. So Benue State is not left out. I can tell you that we have taken several interventions to Benue State and other parts of the country where our interventions are needed. And the 5,000 naira, can it take somebody out of poverty? Yes and no. Yes, if you look at the people that you are taking this intervention to, 5,000 naira means a lot to this, because these are poor and vulnerable households. And it changes their status. But for you and me, 5,000 naira is never enough for us to buy a recharge card. So that's the difference. But for these poor people in the communities, you have seen, they were able to save out of that 5,000 naira. If it's not making any impact, if it's not changing their economic status, I don't think nobody will force them to contribute that 1,000 naira to provide that vehicle for their needs. So 5,000 naira goes a long way. When people say 5,000 naira does not take people out, that is an elitist statement, honestly. It is an elitist statement, because we've had causes to go to the field, and we have seen these people that when you give them this 5,000 naira, they cry, they shed tears, because they've never seen 5,000 naira in their lives. So it goes a long way. It changes their status, and by that, it lifts them from one stage up above. And Festus on Ben TV, the 2019 Trader Money, I've mentioned in my presentation, which is going to be given to you. We have given 2.1 million or thereabouts people, were credit worthy, and they have, been able to recover some of these funds. We do not have the figures. We are still waiting for them to submit to us. It's supposed to be a revolving fund, quite all right. But we've still gone ahead to go on to JIP 2. And this we are flagging off very soon. Maybe by next week, we're going to flag off the JIP 2, where we still give these soft loans. These loans are interest-free and they are collateral-free. And it also supports these small traders and market women in their businesses. We hope that we'll be able to get a substantial amount back to be able to recover that. And on the issue of disaster, what we are doing to see that floods do not occur. Yes, we sensitize. We sensitize, NIMET does, NEMA, we write out letters to the state governments. I've had cause to make a presentation before the National Economic Council where all the governors are. And so it's expected of every state to take responsibility, and even the people themselves. Some of these disasters and floods that occur is due to, our habits of, dumping refuse, blocking all the drainages, and so on and so forth. And so we've been creating awareness around that to see that this does not happen. Unfortunately, it happens. We cannot stop flood. It's just for us to be able to mitigate and manage it when it happens. And as I mentioned, we have come up with policies on how to really strategically address these issues. Thank you very much. Okay, the roadmap. Yes, the roadmap is a document, is a guiding document that will guide all our activities and coordinate all the activities of the ministries and the agencies under the ministry. As was shown, it's a 5-year plan, and we have keyed into the National Development Plan. That roadmap has keyed into it, and also the 9 priority areas of the ministry that was given to us by the government. We have 7 pillars, as mentioned. We have evidence-based, we have resource optimization, we have policy and legal framework, and then we have innovation and technology, and so on and so forth, and then on how to mainstream the SDGs. So this is a working, a guiding document that will guide what we do from now to the next 4 years. Thank you very much. And it emphasizes on coordination on how we are going to coordinate all these activities for better, effective results. Thank you.
It's on now. Can you hear me? Okay. On behalf of the Presidential Communications Team, our Chair, Femi Adesina, and the State House Press Corps, we would like to thank you, Honorable Minister, for anchoring today's State House briefing. Every information you need, the figures, data, it's in the presentation that has been presented by her and will be made available to our Assistant Director, who can send it off to the team. Honorable Minister, thank you very much. In just since 2019 till now, just in about under 3 years, there's a lot that we see that you have achieved. We'd like to congratulate you on your roadmap, and also just give you heads up to say just keep going. I think that you've done quite a bit of job just in 3 years, and a new ministry for that matter. Thank you, everyone, and see you at the next briefing.
Hello. The Honorable Minister's delegation, please.